The 3 net worth milestones that change everything. Have you ever noticed something strange about money? People don't change their financial life gradually. They change it in jumps. Long periods of almost nothing happening, then suddenly everything feels different. Not because income doubled overnight, not because luck arrived, but because they crossed certain invisible financial thresholds, milestones. And once you understand these milestones, you start realizing something very important. Net worth isn't just a number. It's a psychological level, a way of thinking, a way of making decisions. And every major financial shift in life tends to happen after crossing specific net worth points. Today, we are going to break down the 3 most important net worth milestones that completely change how people think, act, and build wealth. Not theory, not motivation, but real behavioral shifts that happen when money reaches certain levels. Let's begin. Milestone 1. $0 to $10,000. The survival breakthrough. This is the first real turning point in almost everyone's financial life. Because before $10,000, most people are not actually building wealth. They are surviving. Living month to month. Income comes in, expenses go out, and there is very little space in between. Every unexpected cost feels like a setback. Every financial mistake feels huge. Every emergency feels overwhelming. And because of that, most decisions are made from fear, not strategy. But something changes when someone finally reaches $10,000 in net worth. It might not seem like a lot. In fact, many people underestimate it. But psychologically, it is massive. Because for the first time, there is breathing room. Not luxury, not freedom, but space. And space changes everything. Now, instead of thinking, how will I survive this month? The mind slowly starts shifting toward, how do I protect and grow this? That shift is extremely important because it marks the transition from survival thinking to builder thinking. At this stage, people start doing things differently. They start tracking money more carefully. They start avoiding unnecessary expenses. They start thinking twice before impulsive purchases. They start paying attention to where money actually goes. And most importantly, they start believing something powerful. I can actually build wealth. Before this milestone, wealth feels theoretical. After this milestone, wealth feels possible. And that belief alone changes future behavior. Because once someone believes they can build money, they start acting like someone who builds money. And that's where the real transformation begins. But $10,000 is only the beginning, because the next milestone is where things get even more interesting. Milestone 2. $10,000 to $100,000. The control phase. This is where financial life starts to stabilize, and also where most people either accelerate or get stuck for years. Because this stage is not about survival anymore. It is about control. Control over spending, control over income decisions, control over lifestyle choices, control over emotional money behavior. At this level, something very important starts happening. Money stops feeling like something that disappears immediately and starts feeling like something that can be managed strategically. This is where people begin to understand budgeting not as restriction, but as direction. Now here's the key difference in this stage. Before $10,000, money feels fragile. After $10,000, money feels manageable. After $100,000, money starts feeling structured, and structure is everything. Because once structure appears, randomness disappears. People start investing more consistently. They start thinking long-term. They start separating needs from wants more clearly. And most importantly, they stop reacting emotionally to financial situations. Instead of panic spending, they start planning. Instead of chasing quick fixes, they start building systems. But there is a hidden danger at this stage, because this is also where lifestyle inflation becomes extremely powerful. Income increases, confidence increases, spending slowly increases, and without realizing it, progress slows down again. That's why some people stay stuck between $10,000 and $100,000 for years. Not because they are failing, but because their expenses rise at the same speed as their income. However, people who break through this stage start thinking differently. They start asking, how do I make my money work without me? That question changes everything, because now the focus shifts from earning to multiplying. And once that mindset takes over, the next milestone becomes inevitable. Milestone 3, $100,000 plus, the freedom shift. This is where everything changes, not instantly, but structurally. Because $100,000 is not just a number, it represents something deeper. Proof of consistency, proof of discipline, proof of delayed gratification, proof of long-term thinking. At this stage, financial anxiety starts decreasing significantly, not because problems disappear, but because resilience increases. Unexpected expenses no longer feel catastrophic. Financial decisions become calmer, risk becomes more calculated, and opportunities become easier to take. Because now there is a buffer, and that buffer changes behavior dramatically. But the most important shift happens internally. Identity changes. People stop seeing themselves as someone trying to get financially stable and start seeing themselves as someone building wealth. That identity shift is powerful, because identity drives every financial decision going forward. At this stage, money is no longer just saved, it is allocated, it is invested, it is structured across different goals. Emergency funds, long-term investments, growth opportunities, retirement planning. And suddenly, financial life becomes intentional instead of reactive. But there is still something deeper happening here, because once someone reaches $100,000, they start noticing a pattern. The hardest part was never earning more. It was building consistency long enough for compounding to work. And that realization leads to the final understanding. Wealth is not created by big moves. It is created by sustained behavior over time. The real truth behind all three milestones. When you step back and look at all three stages together, a clear pattern appears. $0 to $10,000 leads to survival and awareness. $10,000 to $100,000, control and structure. $100,000 plus, freedom and acceleration. But the most important insight is this. People don't fail because they never reach these milestones. They struggle because they try to skip them. They want freedom without structure. They want wealth without control. They want acceleration without foundation. But finance doesn't work that way. It moves in sequence, step by step, milestone by milestone. And every level builds the mindset required for the next one. That's why someone who has reached $10,000 behaves differently from someone at zero. And someone at $100,000 behaves completely differently from someone at $10,000. Because money doesn't just change your bank account, it changes your decision-making system. And once your decisions change, your future changes automatically. Final thought. The 3 net worth milestones are not just financial numbers. They are psychological transformations. Each one represents a new level of thinking, a new level of discipline, a new level of freedom, and a new level of responsibility. And once you understand where you currently stand, you stop chasing money blindly and start building it intentionally. Because in the end, wealth is not about reaching one big number. It is about becoming the kind of person who can reach it repeatedly.